Clark Ivory, CEO of Ivory Homes, largest home builder in the state of Utah. In addition to your status leading Ivory Homes, you've also been very involved civically and otherwise. You've been chairman of the board of trustees at University of Utah. You've played an active role in Governor Herbert's recovery task force related to COVID-19. I want you to talk to us a little bit about the concept of innovation and why you think public and private sector partnership and collaboration is so important in the real estate space.
Well, everything over the last several years, there's been so much talk about affordable housing and how we're going to drive the costs down. But the reality is, there's not one secret recipe. There's just a ton of little things that are going to add up to making a huge difference. And as we started to think about it, we don't have all the answers in our backyard. We need to go outside of our marketplace and find the kind of companies that have the entrepreneurs and the innovators that are making a difference. And we want to learn from them and bring them back. And so what we did is we went outside of our market. We decided we would start this Ivory Prize, which is part of Ivory Innovations, where we look at companies and institutions and organizations that are doing things different than everybody else. And then we ask, is this something that's scalable? Is this something that we can replicate? Is this something that we can bring back into our own market? And we've been incredibly encouraged by the number of innovators and entrepreneurs that are making a difference across the country. And I really believe that the answer to housing affordability for the United States is to continue to focus on entrepreneurs and innovators that have all the little answers, just like Rhino. I mean, what a great solution for the renter who's trying to get in and just doesn't have enough money in their pocket to make it happen. And there's other concepts, across the country that we think are just incredibly valuable as well.
Clark, you talked a lot about, challenges and innovations and things like that. One of the things that we'd love to hear you talk a little bit about is millennials and the concern of people who are students in universities now, young professionals, the future of our economic, social, and everything, in our country. What do you think about concerned millennials and their economic future? And what's your message to them on the housing and real estate front, and how business leaders like yourself are thinking about them in your strategy long term?
Well, I think they've been a little cautious. Even though they maybe were not impacted directly by the past housing crisis, financial crisis that was just over a decade ago, they knew people, parents or other family members or friends that were impacted, and it made them super cautious. And so one of the things that we have to do is give them a higher level of confidence that this is a good decision, that this is going to be something that will, be absolutely the best thing for them long term, whether it's home ownership or putting themselves in a situation to succeed. And I think we're going to see that happening over time. Right now, I got to tell you, we are selling so many homes to that age group.
Clark, you are a builder, among other things. And one of the topics we'd love to get your insight on is this idea of, sustainability, green building, green development. We've heard a lot about climate change across our country and our world. I want to get your take on how that's really going to come to bear in the real estate industry, and how leaders of organizations such as the one you lead really can be charting the course here in both taking action and collaborating with government public officials.
We've done a lot to become a green builder over the last 7 or 8 years. We've made a lot of investments. And at this point, our HERS score, when you look at the efficiency of a home, the HERS score is how you really determine how tight that home is built, how efficient it is, what kind of appliances that were put in, how high efficient were they, etc. And we've driven our HERS scores down into the 50s. Most builders are in the 70s. And of course, older homes are between 100 and 200. And what we've seen is that we can save really most of our home buyers. The average home buyer is going to save about $100 a month because of the efficiency. But they're also going to feel really good because they are in a home that isn't creating the same kind of challenges to the environment. And we've been investing heavily in that.
That's it's very, very, very helpful. And I think one of the other things we want to just have you talk just a small bit about here is, this concept of cost of living going up, major metropolitan areas, whether it be Dallas, Texas, New York City, Salt Lake City. What's your philosophy on the future of cities? Are they going to remain an attractive beacon that young people and all people want to be in? Does affordability endanger that?
It's interesting because in the past we know that this has been a coastal problem, but it's no longer just a coastal problem. You can look at Salt Lake City, Denver, many other markets, and these markets have seen some of the highest appreciation over the last 5 to 10 years. But it's a big deal, and it's not just a coastal deal anymore. It's a big deal for a lot of markets. I do think that actually we're going to see a lot of people leaving some of the more crowded cities and coming to cities like ours because of what they've lived through with COVID. I mean, the truth is the smaller states, the smaller communities have managed it much better. We know it's harder to manage COVID in the crowded, most metropolitan and urban areas, that the spread has been quicker and more dramatic, and it's been harder to take care of the healthcare needs. And people see the numbers that we have in our market with, it's amazing. I mean, just 1 out of 100 of the individuals that have COVID here ever end up having a situation that's really dire. And so it's just something that, one of those things that I think is causing people to think twice about where is it we want to live for the rest of our lives. And they're thinking about these other second tier markets.
Despite the challenges we face, reasons for optimism, would love you to give us one reason that you as a business leader are really optimistic about the real estate landscape in the months and years ahead, despite the challenge of COVID-19, affordability concerns, and those that you've already highlighted here.
Well, first off, this is more short term, but we sold 20% more homes in May than we did a year ago in May, which is just unbelievable to me. Even though we had a dramatic downturn right after COVID, we've seen the markets balance out and a lot of buyers resume to the marketplace. But I think long term, what encourages me the most is that we are in our market able to produce, the housing at levels with a lot of different inputs, a lot of different innovations that I think are going to meet the needs of a lot of our workforce. And hopefully we'll continue to find the innovations from companies like Rhino that will help us to get more and more people into housing, whether it be rental or for sale housing. I think America is full of entrepreneurs. America is full of great innovators. And we're going to continue to focus on this. And I think the social landscape is going to change a little bit, where we all recognize we're better off solving these problems now than letting them become more acute over time. And there seems to be an interest in us all investing in that. And I'm excited to invest in it. I know that our state is going to be really focused on housing affordability over this next decade. All of our politicians are talking about it constantly. And to be honest with you, they weren't talking about it a few years ago. So I'm optimistic because I think we've made up our mind we're going to make a difference here. And when we make up our mind we're going to do something about it, we get it done.
Clark Ivory, thank you so much for joining us with our Innovation Council.
Thank you, Jordan.